Teresa's lips touched his forehead just as the clock struck midnight. It was Christmas. He was dying. And she was so desperately alone that kissing a brain-dead stranger felt less pathetic than crying in the supply closet again. "Merry Christmas," she whispered against his cold skin. His hand shot up and locked around her wrist. Her scream caught in her throat. His eyes snapped open, dark, intense, and fully aware. The monitors exploded into chaos. Beeping alarms. His vitals spiking like he'd been shocked back to life. But there were no defibrillators. No crash cart. Just her kiss. "Mine," he said. His voice was rough from disuse, but absolutely certain. She tried to jerk away. His grip tightened, not painful, but immovable. "Let go." Her nurse training kicked in. Check his pupils, assess his cognition. But all she could see was his face. Sharp jawline with full lips. The kind of beauty that made her forget how to breathe. "Who are you?" he asked in perfect English, his accent barely there. I'm Teresa. Your nurse. You need to let go of me." His thumb stroked her pulse point. Once, twice. Like he was counting her heartbeats. "Teresa," he repeated, tasting her name. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "I've been waiting for you." Then his eyes rolled back and he collapsed against the pillows. She stumbled backward as doctors and nurses flooded the room. Someone was shouting about miracles. Someone else was demanding an explanation. Christmas music played faintly from somewhere down the hall, Silent Night, completely at odds with the chaos. The head neurologist grabbed her shoulders. "What did you do?" His brain activity. "It's completely normal." Like he was never injured. She couldn't answer. Because she didn't know. But she could still feel his grip. Could still hear his voice. "Mine. Hey darlings, welcome to another intense tale of love, miracle and obsession like no other." But before we go ahead, kindly click on the subscribe button if you're enjoying this story. Like and comment where you're watching from. Your comments brighten my day. Keep it coming. Now, let's get back to the story. 30 minutes earlier. The ICU smelled like pine needles and antiseptic. Someone had hung cheap tinsel along the nurse's station. Red and green garland drooped from the ceiling tiles. A plastic Christmas tree blinked sad-colored lights in the corner, decorated with ornaments made by pediatric patients. Teresa hated Christmas. Had hated it since she was 16 and buried her parents 3 days before the holiday. Had hated it through 5 years of working doubles so her coworkers could spend the day with their families. Had hated it through every lonely apartment and every silent Christmas morning. But Seoul General Hospital paid time and a half for holiday shifts, so here she was at midnight on Christmas Eve, checking vitals on patients who were too sick to care what day it was. Room 304's door was cracked open. She shouldn't have gone in. He wasn't her patient, wasn't even expected to survive the night. But the chart outside his room had caught her eye earlier. Myung-ho Gunwoo, 32 with no family listed. No emergency contacts, just a name and a notation, brain dead. Life support to be terminated 12/26. 2 days after Christmas. Like even the hospital couldn't bring itself to pull the plug on the holiday. She slipped inside. The room was dark except for the glow of machines. Someone had put a small Christmas card on his bedside table. Generic message probably from a nurse who felt bad. He was beautiful. Even unconscious, she noticed. Even with tubes and wires and the mechanical hiss of the ventilator. He had the kind of face that belonged on magazine covers, not in a hospital bed dying alone. Teresa moved closer. His chart said gunshot wound to the head 3 weeks ago. They'd stabilized him, but his brain had never recovered. The scan showed minimal activity. The doctors had stopped using words like recovery or improvement. They used words like miracle now. As in, it would take one. She touched his hand. It was warm. The machines kept him warm, kept his heart beating, and kept him technically alive. But he was alone on Christmas. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm sorry no one's here. I'm sorry you're..." Her voice cracked. She was so tired, so lonely, so sick of watching people die alone. The clock on the wall clicked to midnight. Christmas Day. "Merry Christmas," she said softly. And then, because she was exhausted and sad and nobody was watching, she leaned down and kissed his forehead. And that was when it happened. The miracle that would change her life forever. He woke up and declared, "Mine," with so much certainty. She didn't know what to do as doctors burst into the room, so she bolted. Myung-ho remembered everything about the darkness. 3 weeks of floating in nothing. No sound, no light, no sense of time passing. Just the vague awareness that he was supposed to be dead, and something was keeping him tethered to a world he couldn't reach. Then warmth. A soft feeling against his forehead. The scent of cocoa butter and vanilla. A voice saying words he couldn't quite hear but felt in his chest. Merry Christmas. His heart had restarted. Not the machine that had kept him alive. His actual heart. For the first time in 3 weeks, he'd wanted to live. Now, 3 days later, he stood in his private suite at the Grand Meridian, watching security footage on repeat. The city below was still covered in Christmas lights, trees and windows. Inflatable Santas on balconies. He'd never cared about Christmas before. Now it was his favorite holiday. There she was, Teresa, slipping into his room at midnight on Christmas Eve and standing beside his bed with an expression that made his chest tight. He knew that look, loneliness. He had seen it in his own mirror often enough. She'd kissed him like she was giving him a gift. Like she thought no one else would. She was wrong. He was going to marry her. The hospital has her working through New Year's, Lee Gunwoo said from the doorway. His second-in-command looked uncomfortable. Boss, are you sure about this? She's a civilian. Getting involved with her is already done. Myung-ho didn't look away from the screen. Teresa was checking another patient's vitals efficiently and gentle. She tucked the blanket around an elderly woman with a kind of care that made his ribs ache. I want everything. Where she lives. Who she talks to. What she eats for breakfast. That's stalking. That's research. He finally turned. And Gunwoo? Send flowers to the hospital addressed to her. White roses, winter flowers. Make it look like Christmas. Gunwoo sighed. How many? Enough to fill the nurse's station. Teresa stared at the delivery. It wasn't a bouquet. It was a winter wonderland. White roses, amaryllis, paper whites, eucalyptus, arrangements covering every surface of the nurse's station. Tiny lights woven through the greenery. Small silver ornaments catching the fluorescent lights. It looked like Christmas should look. Beautiful and magical. The card was simple. Thank you for waking me up. Merry Christmas. MJ. Her coworkers were losing their minds. Who's MJ? Is this a secret admirer? Girl, this is like something out of a movie. She crumpled the card. This was insane. He'd been brain dead 3 days ago. Now he was sending her a Christmas forest? Her supervisor appeared, phone in hand, looking flustered. Teresa, there's someone here to see you. He's waiting in the consultation room. I'm in the middle of. He donated $100,000 to the ICU. As a Christmas gift in your name. Go. Her stomach dropped. The consultation room was private and soundproof. Usually used for delivering bad news to families. Myung-ho Jin sat in one of the chairs like he owned it. Probably because he looked like the kind of man who owned everything. Tailored black coat, cashmere scarf, hair pushed back from his face. A face that should have been swollen and damaged from 3 weeks in a coma, but looked absolutely perfect. He stood when she entered. Teresa. Merry Christmas. What are you doing here? She closed the door harder than necessary. You were discharged yesterday. You should be home resting. I was resting. It was boring. He gestured to the chair across from him. Sit with me. I'm working. Your supervisor gave you 15 minutes. Of course she did. Because he'd probably bought those too. She stayed standing. The flowers are too much. The donation is too much. Whatever you think this is. I think you saved my life. I'm a nurse. That's literally my job. You kissed me. He said it quietly, but the words hit like a gunshot. At midnight on Christmas Eve. It was a miracle when you thought no one was watching. Her face burned. The security cameras. Show everything. He took a step closer. Not threatening, just intense. Like gravity itself was pulling him toward her. Why did you do it? I felt sorry for you. Try again. She swallowed hard. You looked alone on Christmas. Nobody should be alone on Christmas. I was. Another step. And so were you. The truth of it knocked the air from her lungs. He stopped just close enough that she could smell him, something dark and expensive that made her head swim. Let me take you out tomorrow. It's the day after Christmas. You must have the day off. I don't date patients. I'm not your patient anymore. His smile was slow. Dangerous. And I'm not asking for a date. I'm asking for a chance to say thank you. Properly. Every instinct screamed at her to run. But there was something about the way he looked at her. Like she was the only real thing in the room. One afternoon, she heard herself say. His smile widened. I'll pick you up at noon. I didn't tell you where I live. He was already at the door. I know. He sent a car. Not an Uber. An actual town car with a driver who opened the door for her and called her Mrs. Jean before she could correct him. I'm not, she started. Not yet, the driver said with a small smile. The car drove for 40 minutes out of the city and away from the traffic and noise and reality. They stopped at a private beach. Teresa stepped out and stared. The beach was massive and empty. Pristine white sand meeting gray winter water. A pavilion stood at the edge, strung with lights. Heat lamps glowed inside it, creating a warm oasis against the December cold. Myung-ho was waiting. He wore dark jeans and a sweater that probably cost more than her rent. It was supposed to be casual and approachable. Yet he still looked devastatingly handsome. You own a beach, she said. I own several. This one is private. He walked to her. I thought you might want somewhere quiet, away from crowds. Most people go to dinner for a first date. This isn't a date. Remember? His eyes danced. This is a thank you. He led her to the pavilion. Inside, there was a blanket spread out, a picnic basket with champagne chilling in ice, and the heat lamps made it almost comfortable despite the winter air. This is insane, she said. You keep saying that. He poured champagne into 2 glasses. Maybe you need to raise your standards. Or maybe you need to understand normal. I understand what I want. He handed her a glass. And I want to know everything about you. They sat on the blanket, ate fancy sandwiches and fruit, drank champagne while the waves crashed nearby. He asked questions like he was collecting secrets. Where did she grow up? Why nursing? What did she do when she wasn't working? She deflected and asked her own questions. Where was his family? What did he do for work? Why had he been alone in the hospital? He smiled like he knew exactly what she was doing. My family is complicated. I work in import, export. And I wasn't alone. You were there. That doesn't count. It counted to me. He refilled her glass. His fingers brushed hers intentionally. I was in the dark for 3 weeks. And then I felt you. Your warmth, your softness. The way you smelled like vanilla and something sweet I couldn't name. Cocoa butter, she whispered. Cocoa butter, he repeated, like he was memorizing it. You pulled me back, Teresa. From wherever I was. I would have stayed in the dark, but you made me want to come back. Her throat felt tight. That's not how comas work. No. His hand covered hers completely. It's not. The touch sent electricity up her arm. She should pull away. She didn't. What do you want from me? She asked. His thumb traced circles on her palm. Everything. The sun started setting. The sky turned pink and orange when he suggested a walk along the beach. They walked in silence for a while in the cold sand. The wind bit through her jacket. He noticed her shiver and shrugged out of his coat to drape it over her shoulders. I'm fine, she protested. Humor me. His hand found hers and threaded their fingers together, even as his heart was beating faster than anything else. He was worried she would pull away. She didn't. It felt natural instead. Easy like they'd done it 1,000 times before. This is moving fast, she said quietly. I know. I barely know you. Then get to know me. He stopped walking and turned to face her. Ask me anything. I'll answer honestly. Why were you shot? His jaw tightened. Wrong place, wrong time. Someone wanted me dead. They almost got their wish. Someone wants you dead? Several someones, probably. He said it so casually like attempted murder was just part of life. But I'm hard to kill, apparently. That's not funny. No, it's not. His hand came up to cup her face. But I'm here now because of you. And I'm not wasting this second chance. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. Their lips met softly, tentatively, like a question. She answered by pressing closer. The kiss deepened. His hand slid into her hair. Her fingers gripped his sweater and the waves crashed. The wind howled, and for the first time in years, Teresa felt warm. When they broke apart, they were both breathing hard. I should take you home, he said, voice rough. Yeah, you should. But neither of them moved. Myung-ho walked her to her door 2 hours later. She lived in a small apartment in a neighborhood that made his security team nervous. The building was old, the locks were a joke. He was already making mental notes to have both fixed. Thank you, she said, keys in hand. For today. It was marvelous. She laughed. I was going to say nice. Nice. He stepped closer, close enough to feel her breath. Can I see you again? I don't think that's a good idea. Why not? Because. She looked up at him, and he saw the war in her eyes. The want versus sense. Because you're intense, and I don't do intense. It's too much trouble. You kissed a dying stranger at midnight on Christmas. That's pretty intense. That was different. How? Because you couldn't hurt me then. The words hit him in the chest. She thought he would hurt her. Maybe she was right to worry. His world was violence and blood and choices that kept him up at night. But he'd never hurt her. He'd burn the world down first. I would never, he started. She put a hand on his chest. Don't make promises you can't keep. Then she slipped inside and closed the door. He stood there for a full minute, feeling the ghost of her touch. Behind him, Gunwoo cleared his throat. We need to go, boss. You have a meeting in an hour. Myung-ho didn't move. Cancel it. It's with the Lee faction. You've been putting them off for weeks. Then I'll put them off another week. He finally turned away from her door. I want surveillance on this building discreetly. And I want the locks changed. She'll notice. Then make sure she thinks the landlord did it. He climbed into the car. Through the window, he could see her apartment light turn on. 3rd floor, the corner unit. He memorized it. And Gunwoo? Find out everything about her. I want to know what she's afraid of. Because Myung-ho had been a lot of things in his life. Soldier, killer, leader. But he'd never been in love before. And now that he had no intention of losing. Teresa's life became a whirlwind of Myung-ho. He showed up at the hospital with coffee. The expensive kind that tasted like heaven and probably cost more than her hourly wage. He sent lunch when she worked doubles. Left books on her doorstep, ones she'd mentioned loving in passing. New Year's Eve came, and he invited her to a party at his penthouse. She said no. He showed up at her apartment at midnight with champagne and fireworks visible from her window. They kissed at midnight, then again at 12:01, and again at 12:02. By the time January arrived, she was seeing him 4 times a week. Come to a movie with me, he said one afternoon. They're re-showing classic Christmas films. It's almost Epiphany. One last Christmas thing. A movie? A movie. He looked almost shy. Normal date. I promise. It wasn't normal. The theater was empty. Completely empty. Did you rent out the whole theater? She asked. Maybe. Myung-ho. I wanted you to be comfortable. No crowds, no distractions. He led her to the center seats. Just us, and it's a wonderful life. But they weren't alone. As soon as they sat down, she noticed them. His men in suits, at least 6 of them. They were positioned throughout the theater, flanking the exits and watching. Who are they? She whispered. Security. You brought security to a movie? I bring security everywhere. He said it casually like it was normal. Don't worry about them. But she couldn't not worry. They were everywhere. Silent, but watchful. A constant reminder that Myung-ho's life wasn't normal. The movie started. She tried to focus, tried to get lost in the story. But she kept noticing the men. The way they never relaxed. Never looked at the screen. Myung-ho's hand found hers in the dark. Talk to me, he murmured. This is weird. I know. Why do you need this much security? Because I have enemies. His thumb stroked her knuckles. And anyone close to me becomes a target. Her stomach dropped. A target for what? For people who want to hurt me. He turned to look at her. In the flickering light from the screen, his face was serious. I told you my world was complicated. Complicated is an understatement. I know. He lifted her hand to his lips and kissed her knuckles. If this is too much, tell me. I'll take you home. We can forget this. She should say yes. Should run. Instead, she shifted closer. The movie's almost at the good part. His smile was relieved. He pulled her against his side. She rested her head on his shoulder. The men with guns faded into the background. The strangeness faded. It was just them in the dark. Watching George Bailey realize his life mattered. I love this part, she whispered when George ran through the town. Yeah, when he realizes what he has. What he almost lost. Myung-ho's arm tightened around her. I know the feeling. She looked up to see he was already looking down. They kissed in the darkness of the theater. Slow and deep and perfect. His hand cupped her face. Her fingers gripped his shirt. One of the security guys cleared his throat. They broke apart, both breathing hard. Sorry, the man said, not sounding sorry at all. We need to move. There's been a situation. Myung-ho's face went cold. What kind of situation? Lee's crew are outside. Everything changed. Myung-ho stood, pulling Teresa with him. Gunwoo, get her to the car through the back exit. Wait, what's happening? Teresa's heart was racing. Nothing, you're fine. Gunwoo will take you home. He was already moving, already becoming someone else. Someone hard and dangerous. Myung-ho. He kissed her hard and fast. I'll call you later. I promise. Then he was gone. And Gunwoo was herding her toward the back exit. And she caught a glimpse through the front doors, men standing in the street. Myung-ho walked toward them fearlessly. Who is he? She asked Gunwoo. Gunwoo didn't answer. But she was starting to figure it out. Myung-ho called at 3 a.m. Did I wake you? No. She'd been staring at the ceiling for hours. What happened tonight? No answer. Myung-ho. Nothing you need to worry about. That's not an answer. More silence. Then, can I come over? Now, please. 15 minutes later, he was at her door. He looked exhausted. There was blood on his knuckles and his shirt was torn. Oh my God, it's not mine. He stepped inside and closed the door. Then he leaned against it like his strings had been cut. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have come. But I needed to see you. She pulled him to the bathroom. Made him sit while she cleaned his hands. The cuts weren't deep, just scraped knuckles from hitting something. Or someone. Talk to me, she said quietly. I can't. Yes, you can. His eyes met hers. If I tell you, you'll run. Maybe. Maybe not. But I deserve to know what I'm getting into. He was quiet for a long time. Then, I'm not just import-export. My family, we control territory. Businesses, protection. Things that exist in the gray areas of the law. You're a criminal. Yes. She should have been shocked. Should have kicked him out, but somehow, she wasn't surprised. The men tonight, she asked. Rivals. They wanted to send a message. And the security everywhere? They are necessary because people want me dead. And anyone close to me. He caught her hand. Anyone close to me becomes a target. There it was. The truth laid bare. So what am I? She asked. A liability? You're everything. He stood and cupped her face. And that's the problem. Because I'm falling in love with you, Teresa. And that makes you the most valuable thing in my world. Which means every enemy I have will eventually come for you. Her heart was trying to break through her ribs. So what do? You run. You forget you ever met me. You live a normal, safe life. And if I don't want to run? His eyes searched hers. Then I protect you the only way I know how. How? Marry me. She laughed, then realized he wasn't joking. What? Marry me. He said it with absolute certainty. In my world, being my wife makes you untouchable. Protected toll. No one would dare hurt you. That's insane. I know. We barely know each other. I know that too. His forehead pressed against hers. But I also know that I haven't stopped thinking about you since I opened my eyes and saw your face. I know that you're the first person I want to talk to in the morning and the last person I think about at night. I know that 3 weeks in the dark taught me what matters. And Teresa, you matter. Her throat was tight. This is too much. Everything about me is too much. But I'm asking anyway. He pulled back to look at her. 1 year. Give me 1 year to prove this is real, to keep you safe. After that, if you want out, I'll let you go. I'll give you a new identity, money to start over, everything you need. You promise. Something flickered in his eyes. I promise. She should say no. Should run screaming. Should do anything except what she did. Okay. His smile was blinding. Okay. 1 year. But I want it in writing. Done. He kissed her. Hard and deep. I'll have the papers drawn up tomorrow. And we do this properly. We'll sleep in separate rooms until I'm ready. Whatever you need. He was lying. Not about the separate rooms, but about letting her go after a year. Myung-ho Jin had no intention of ever letting her go. The wedding happened fast. Too fast. 1 week after she'd said yes, Teresa stood in a courthouse wearing a dress Myung-ho had bought and feeling like she'd been swept up in a tsunami. His family was there. Grandmother Jean, a tiny woman with sharp eyes who looked at Teresa like she could see straight through her. His sister Yurin, who hugged Teresa like they were already friends. And Gunwoo, who stood in the back looking vaguely concerned. The ceremony took 10 minutes. When the judge said, "You may kiss the bride," Myung-ho's hands framed her face. The kiss was soft, reverent like a promise. Mine, he whispered against her lips. She shivered. The reception was at his family's estate. It was massive. The kind of wealth that made her wonder what exactly import-export meant. She signed the contract after dinner. Myung-ho slid the papers across the table in his study. It's standard. Financial arrangements, living arrangements. After 1 year, if you want a divorce, we'll handle it quietly. She skimmed the pages. Legal jargon that made her eyes cross. But the key points were clear. 1 year with generous monthly allowance. Her student loans paid off immediately. This is a business arrangement, she said. It's protection. She signed. He countersigned. Then he pulled her into his lap and kissed her like he'd been waiting all day to do it. We should talk about boundaries, she managed between kisses. Tomorrow. His mouth moved to her neck. Let me have tonight. She should insist. Should set rules. Instead, she let him carry her upstairs. Myung-ho's bedroom was massive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city lights. A bed that could fit 6 people. Everything dark and expensive and completely overwhelming. He set her down gently beside the bed. His eyes were dark. Hungry. But he didn't move closer. This is your room too, he said quietly. But I'll sleep in the guest room if that's what you want. She looked at the bed, at him. At the way he was watching her like he was barely holding himself back. What do you want? She asked. You. The word came out rough. I want you in my bed. I want to make this marriage real. I want to touch every inch of you until you forget your own name. He took a breath. But I meant what I said. I won't push. You set the pace. And if I say not tonight? His jaw clenched. Then I'll take the coldest shower of my life and try not to think about you sleeping in my bed without me. She should say no. Should insist on boundaries. On taking things slow. But the way he was looking at her like she was everything. Like he was starving and she was the only thing that could satisfy him. I'm nervous, she admitted. I know. He stepped closer. Just 1 step. Talk to me. What are you nervous about? This is moving so fast. A month ago, I didn't know you existed. Now I'm your wife, and you're looking at me like I want to devour you? His smile was dark. Because I do. But Teresa, I'll wait. As long as you need. What if I'm not ready for everything? Then we do what you're ready for. Nothing more. He reached out slowly. Gave her time to pull away. His fingers traced her jawline. But I'm asking, begging, let me have something. Let me hold you. Touch you. Show you how much I want you. Her breath caught. Just touching. Whatever you're comfortable with. His thumb brushed her bottom lip. But I need something, Teresa. I've been dying for you since the moment I opened my eyes and saw your face. 1 taste. That's all I'm asking. She should be stronger. should insist on waiting. But the truth was she wanted him too. Had wanted him since that first kiss on the beach. Since every stolen moment in the theater. Since every morning he'd brought her coffee and looked at her like she was the sun. Okay, she whispered. His eyes flashed. Okay, touch me. Kiss me. But Myung-ho. I know. Not everything, not yet. He pulled her against him. But let me have this, please. The please broke her. She kissed him. He groaned into her mouth. His hands slid into her hair, tilting her head to deepen the kiss. She gasped and he swallowed the sound. Bed, he muttered against her lips. Need you on the bed. He walked her backward until her knees hit the mattress. She sat. He followed her down, covering her body with his. The weight of him was perfect. Solid and real. His mouth moved to her neck, kissing, sucking, and definitely leaving marks. Everyone needs to know you're mine, he growled. His hands found the zipper of her dress. Can I? She nodded. He unzipped slowly, peeled the fabric away like he was unwrapping a gift. When she was down to just her underwear, he pulled back to look at her. Beautiful, he breathed. You're so goddamn beautiful. His mouth was everywhere. Her collarbone. Her shoulders. The swell of her breasts. His hands mapped her body like he was memorizing every curve. Myung-ho, she gasped. Tell me what you want. I don't know. I just more. He smiled against her skin. More I can do. His hand slid between her thighs. Over her underwear at first. Teasing, and she arched into his touch. Please. Please, what, wife? Touch me. Really touch me. He hooked his fingers in the fabric. This okay? Yes. He pulled her underwear down. Tossed it aside. Then his hand was on her bare skin, and she forgot how to breathe. So wet for me already, he murmured. Been thinking about this? About my hands on you. She couldn't answer. Could only gasp as his fingers found exactly where she needed them. He worked her slowly. Carefully. Like he was learning what made her moan. What made her arch. What made her grab his shoulders and hold on. That's it, he encouraged. Take what you need from me. His mouth found hers again. Kissed her while his fingers drove her higher. When she came apart, he swallowed her cries. Held her through it. Whispered things in Korean that sounded like prayers. When she came back to herself, she realized he was still fully clothed. Still hard against her hip. What about you? She asked. This wasn't about me. He kissed her forehead. Tonight was about showing you how good I can make you feel. But I'll survive. He shifted away slightly, creating distance. You should sleep. It's late. She caught his wrist. Stay, Teresa. I'm not ready for everything. But stay. Sleep here and hold me. His resistance crumbled. You're killing me. Is that a yes? He pulled her against his chest. That's a yes. She fell asleep to the sound of his heartbeat. Safe, warm, and completely wrapped in him. Myung-ho stayed awake long after she drifted off. She was curled against him, soft and trusting. Her breathing was even. Peaceful. He was in exquisite agony. His body screamed for release. For more. For everything. But he'd meant what he said. Tonight was about her. About showing her that he could be patient. That he could put her needs first. Even if it killed him. He pressed a kiss to her hair and breathed in her scent. Cocoa butter and vanilla and something uniquely her. I love you, he whispered to her sleeping form. And I'm sorry for what I've done. For the lies still hidden in that contract. But I'll make it up to you. I swear. Outside, Gunwoo sent a text. Lee's making his move. He wants a meeting. Myung-ho's reply was immediate. Tell him I'm on my honeymoon. He can wait. Because for the first time in his life, Myung-ho had something more important than the family business. He had Teresa. In his bed wearing his ring and carrying his name. And he'd destroy anyone who tried to take her away. His hand drifted down her spine possessively, claiming. Even in sleep, she pressed closer. Mine, he murmured. Forever mine. He'd lied about the contract. Had trapped her in a marriage she didn't agree to. But he'd spend the rest of his life making sure she never wanted to leave. Starting with making her so addicted to his touch that the thought of being without him was unbearable. It was manipulative, controlling, and wrong. But Myung-ho Jin had never claimed to be a good man. Just a man hopelessly, desperately in love. And he'd do whatever it took to keep her. 3 months into the marriage, Teresa was happy. Deliriously, stupidly happy. Myung-ho was everything she'd never known she wanted. Attentive, generous. The kind of husband who remembered she liked her coffee with 2 sugars and always made sure she ate breakfast before her shifts. The sex was... God. The sex was incredible. He'd been right about being insatiable. Some nights she'd wake up to find him already touching her. Already hungry. They'd made love in every room of the house. Sometimes gentle. Sometimes so rough she wore his marks for days. And he loved leaving marks. So everyone knows you're mine. He'd growl against her neck while she came apart beneath him. She was falling in love with him. Hard and fast and completely. Which made the discovery so much worse. She found the real contract by accident. She'd been looking for insurance papers in his study. Opened the wrong drawer. And there it was. The original contract. With her signature. And a duration clause that made her blood run cold. 10 years. Not 1 year. 10. She read it 3 times. Checked the date. Checked her signature. It was real. He'd lied. He'd manipulated her. He'd trapped her in a marriage she never agreed to. Myung-ho found her in his study an hour later. She was still sitting on the floor. The contract in her lap. Her face was wet with tears. Teresa. 10 years. Her voice was hollow. The contract says 10 years. He went completely still. Let me explain. Explain what? That you lied to me? That you tricked me into signing away my life. I was protecting you. By trapping me? She stood. The contract fell to the floor between them. You said 1 year. You promised. I know. And you lied. Yes. He took a step toward her. She backed away. His face crumpled. Teresa, please. Let me. Were you ever going to tell me? His silence was answer enough. She laughed. It sounded broken. God, I'm so stupid. I actually thought, her voice cracked. I thought you loved me. I do love you. He moved fast. Grabbed her shoulders before she could retreat. I love you so much it scares me. That's why I did it. Because I knew if I only had a year, you'd leave. And I can't lose you. She shoved him away. So you took away my choice? I was trying to keep you safe. From what? You keep saying that, but you never explain. She was shouting now. Months of questions finally boiling over. What exactly do you do, Myung-ho? What's this world you're protecting me from? His jaw clenched. You don't want to know. I'm your wife. I have a right to know. I'm a criminal. The words exploded out of him. I run the Jean crime family. Drugs, weapons, protection rackets, all of it. My cousin wants me dead. Half the city wants me dead. And anyone close to me becomes a target. That's why I married you. That's why I lied. Because being my wife makes you untouchable in my world. Protected. The room spun. You're a... She couldn't even say it. A mobster. Gangster. Whatever you want to call it. He looked wrecked. I should have told you from the beginning, but I was afraid you'd run. I would have. Exactly. He reached for her again. Teresa, She slapped him. Hard enough that his head snapped to the side. Hard enough that her palms stung. Don't touch me. Her voice shook. Don't come near me. I need to think. She ran. He didn't follow. Myung-ho stood in his study for a long time after she left. His face still stung from her slap. He deserved it. Deserved even worse. Gun-woo appeared in the doorway. She knows. She knows. What are you going to do? Give her space. Even though it was killing him. Even though every instinct screamed to chase her. She needs time to process. And if she leaves? Myung-ho's hands clenched into fists. She can't. The contract will make her hate you. Gun-woo crossed his arms. You can't force someone to love you, boss. I'm not trying to force anything. I'm trying to keep her alive. By lying to her? By trapping her? Gun-woo shook his head. You're scared. I get it. But this is how you lose her for real. Myung-ho knew he was right. But the alternative was letting her go. And he'd rather have her angry and safe than free and dead. Lee's been quiet for 3 months, Gunwoo said carefully. Maybe the threat isn't as immediate as you thought. Lee is never quiet without reason. Myung-ho poured himself a drink. Stared at it yet didn't take a sip. He's planning something, and when he moves, Teresa will be his first target. Then tell her that. Show her the evidence. Stop hiding behind manipulation and just be honest. Myung-ho laughed bitterly. I just tried honesty. You saw how that went. You tried honesty after months of lies. That's not the same thing. Teresa locked herself in the guest room for 2 days. She didn't eat, barely slept. Just cried and raged and tried to figure out what the hell to do. She was married to a criminal. She'd fallen in love with a criminal. And he lied to her from the very beginning. On the 3rd day, Year and his sister knocked on the door. Go away, Teresa called. I have food. And wine. And I'm not leaving until you let me in. Teresa opened the door. Yirin took one look at her and winced. You look terrible. Thanks. I mean it lovingly. She pushed past with a tray of food. Eat then we'll talk. They sat on the floor. Teresa picked at the food while Yirin poured wine. He told you, she said finally. About being a criminal? Yeah. About the contract too? Teresa nodded. Yirin sighed. He's an idiot. He's a liar. He's both. She took a long sip of wine. But he's also desperately in love with you. Like, pathetically in love. It's actually kind of disgusting to watch. That doesn't excuse what he did. No, it doesn't. Yirin met her eyes. But maybe it explains it. My brother has lost a lot of people. Our parents, friends. People he trusted. And then he almost died, was actually dead for 3 weeks. And when he came back, you were the first thing he saw. The first person who made him feel something other than rage or duty. Teresa's chest ached. That still doesn't make it okay. I know. But... Yirin hesitated. Do you love him? I don't know anymore. Yes, you do. You're just hurt. She squeezed Teresa's hand. Look, I'm not saying forgive him. I'm saying talk to him because yeah, he's a lying, manipulative criminal. But he's also the man who hasn't slept in 3 days because he's terrified you're going to leave. And I think you deserve to tell him exactly how much he screwed up before you decide anything. Teresa looked at her wine. What if I can't forgive him? Then you leave. And he'll let you go. Because as controlling as my brother is, he loves you more than he loves himself. And if you're truly miserable, he won't keep you. Yirin smiled sadly. But I don't think you're miserable. I think you're scared. And that's okay, but don't let fear make your decisions. What if he lies again? Then you leave for real this time. But Teresa, Yirin's voice softened. I've known my brother my whole life. I've never seen him care about anything the way he cares about you. He's made mistakes. Huge ones. But the love? That's real. I'd stake my life on it. Now, what do you think, my darlings? Is Myung-ho really sorry? Does he regret lying to Teresa? Comment below what you think and smash the subscribe button if you haven't yet. Teresa found Myung-ho on the roof. He was standing at the edge, hands in his pockets, staring out at the city. He looked exhausted. Broken like he'd aged years in 3 days. Your sister told me where you were, she said. He didn't turn around. You should be resting. I've had enough rest. She walked to stand beside him. Not too close, but close enough. We need to talk. If you're here to tell me you're leaving, just do it quickly. His voice was hollow like he'd already accepted it. I'm not leaving. Now he looked at her. Hope and confusion warring on his face. You're not. Not yet, anyway. She crossed her arms against the cold. But we're going to have some new rules. Anything. No more lies. Not ever. I don't care how much you think you're protecting me. You tell me the truth. Done. And you explain everything. Your business. Your family, the danger. All of it. Okay. And she took a breath. You get the contract fixed. Make it what you promised. 1 year. After that, I decide if I stay. This time he hesitated. His hands gripped the railing. Teresa, those are my terms. Take them or I walk right now. He stared at her for a long moment. The wind whipped between them. Finally, he nodded. I'll call the lawyer tomorrow. Good. She stepped closer. Now here's the thing you need to understand. I'm furious with you. What you did was manipulative and wrong, and I'm not just going to forget it. I know, but... She put a hand on his chest, felt his heart racing. I also understand why you did it. Doesn't make it right, but I understand. His hand covered hers. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know you are. She looked up at him. And I love you. Even though you're a lying, controlling criminal. I love you. Something broke in his expression. He pulled her against him and buried his face in her hair. His whole body was shaking. I don't deserve you. No, you don't. She wrapped her arms around him. But you're stuck with me anyway. They stood like that for a long time. The city glittered below them. Above, stars fought through the light pollution. Finally, he pulled back and cupped her face in both hands. I really will fix the contract. I know. And I really will tell you everything. No more secrets. You better. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. And Teresa? When the year is up, I'm going to spend every single day of it making you want to stay. She smiled despite everything. I'm counting on it. He kissed her then. Soft and desperate and full of promises. She kissed him back just as hard. When they broke apart, she shivered. He immediately shrugged out of his jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. Come to bed, he asked quietly. Is that an order? It's a request. I haven't slept in days. And I sleep better when you're there. She let him lead her back inside, back to their room. They didn't have sex. Just held each other. He traced patterns on her back while she listened to his heartbeat. I really do love you, he murmured into the darkness. I know. And I really am sorry. I know that too. She pressed a kiss to his chest. But Myung-ho, if you ever lie to me again, I won't. I swear it. His arms tightened. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. I'm not stupid enough to risk losing you twice. She smiled against his skin. Good answer. They fell asleep tangled together. And for the first time in 3 days, both of them slept peacefully. The next 6 months were different. Myung-ho kept his promises, all of them. The contract was amended. 1 year, like he originally said. She had the new papers, had read every single line. Even had a lawyer friend review them. It was real this time. And he told her everything. About the family business, the territory wars, the deals and violence and choices that kept him up at night. He didn't hide anything. Not the blood on his hands, not the enemies at his door, not the constant danger. She listened and asked questions, trying to understand his world. It was terrifying, but it was honest. And slowly, her trust rebuilt. He courted her all over again. Flowers every week. Date nights even when he was busy. Little notes hidden in her scrubs that made her blush when she found them. The sex had somehow gotten even better. He was insatiable, possessive, and would pull her into empty rooms at family dinners just to kiss her. Would wake her at 3 a.m. because he needed her. You're going to kill me, she'd gasp while he moved inside her. What a way to go, he'd growl back. She was happy, genuinely happy. And then Lee made his move. She was at work when Gunwoo called. Get to a safe location. Now. What's happening? Lee declared a formal challenge. Old rules. Myung-ho has to fight him in a hand-to-hand combat to the death. Her blood went cold. Where is he? The compound. But Teresa, you can't. She was already running. The fight was in 3 days. Teresa found Myung-ho in the training room, beating the hell out of a punching bag. His knuckles were bloody. His face was set in grim determination. You're going to fight him. Not a question. He didn't stop hitting the bag. I have to. If I refuse, Lee takes everything. The family, the territory, you. Me? Old rules. Winner takes all. Finally, he stopped and turned to face her with sweat dripped down his chest. I won't let him touch you. So you're going to fight to the death? That's the plan. That's the only option. She wanted to scream. To beg him not to do this, but she could see it in his eyes. This wasn't a choice. Then you better win, she said quietly. His smile was grim. I intend to. She crossed to him, put her hands on his chest, felt his heart pounding beneath her palms. What happens if? She couldn't finish. I won't lose. He caught her hands, brought them to his lips. I have too much to live for now. Promise me. I promise. But they both knew promises didn't mean anything against a knife. The next 3 days were hell. She watched him train, watched him prepare, watched him accept that he might die. His family tried to keep her calm. Grandmother Jean held her hand. Yirin stayed by her side, but nothing helped. The night before the fight, they didn't sleep. He made love to her with desperate intensity, like he was trying to memorize every inch of her. Every sound. Every touch. I'm coming back to you, he promised between kisses. I swear. You better. She pulled him closer and wrapped her legs around his waist. Because I'm not done with you yet. Not done. She met his eyes and saw the fear he was trying to hide. The year is almost up. And I've decided. His whole body went still. Decided what? I'm staying. She cupped his face. Forever. If you'll have me. His eyes went bright. A tear fell. Teresa. I love you. All of you. Even the parts that scare me. Even the lies and the manipulation and the criminal empire. She kissed him softly. So you don't get to die tomorrow. Because I just decided on forever, and I'm going to be really pissed if you break that promise. He kissed her so hard she forgot how to breathe. Then he was moving again inside her. Claiming her, marking her. Forever, he growled against her throat. I'm holding you to that. They made love until dawn. Until they were both exhausted, and until there was nothing left but each other. I love you, she whispered as the sun came up. I love you more. He kissed her forehead, her nose, her lips. And I'm coming back. I swear it on everything I am. The fight happened in a warehouse on the south side. It was an old neutral ground. Myung-ho's family on one side, Lee's supporters on the other. And Teresa, standing with Yirin and grandmother Jean, trying not to throw up. Lee was younger than Myung-ho. Faster and meaner. He came out swinging. But Myung-ho fought like a man possessed. Every hit he took, he got back up. Every time Lee knocked him down, he rose. Because he'd made a promise. And Myung-ho Jean didn't break promises to his wife. The fight was brutal and bloody. She couldn't watch but couldn't look away. Lee was fast. But Myung-ho was smart and patient, always waiting for his opening. And then, Lee overextended. Just for a second. Myung-ho moved fast as lightning. A strike to the throat, a knee to the ribs. A move that would have been lethal if he'd wanted it to be. But he pulled it. Just barely. Lee went down hard. Unconscious, but breathing. The warehouse erupted. Myung-ho stood over his cousin, chest heaving, covered in blood. He looked at the crowd, at his family. At Teresa. It's done, he said. Then his knees buckled. Teresa was moving before anyone else. She caught him before he hit the ground. I got you, she whispered. I got you. He smiled up at her with blood on his teeth. Told you. I'll come back. You idiot. She was crying and laughing. You beautiful, stupid idiot. The medics rushed in, but she wouldn't let go of his hand. Not for a second. Teresa finished her shift at exactly midnight on Christmas Eve. 1 year to the day since she'd kissed a dying man and changed her entire life. Myung-ho was waiting in the parking garage, leaning against his car with a smile that still made her stupid. How was work, wife? Long. She walked into his arms and let him hold her, breathing in his scent. How was crime? Profitable. He kissed the top of her head. Ready to go home? Actually. She pulled back. I want to make a stop first. Room 304 was empty now. But the hospital had left it as a weird shrine of sorts. The place where the miracle happened, where Myung-ho Jean came back from the dead. They stood in the doorway together. Someone had decorated it for Christmas with a small tree, lights, and tinsel. This is where it started, she said quietly. This is where you saved me. His arm wrapped around her waist. I was ready to die, you know. In the dark. I'd given up. And then you kissed me, and suddenly I had a reason to fight. I didn't know you then. No. But you loved me anyway. Enough to kiss a stranger. Enough to give him a gift on Christmas. He turned her to face him. I've been carrying something around for weeks. Waiting for the right moment. He pulled out a small box. Her breath caught. Myung-ho, I know we're already married. But I never proposed properly. Never gave you a choice. He opened the box. Inside was a ring. Simple yet elegant. A single diamond that caught the Christmas lights. So I'm asking now. Teresa, will you marry me? For real this time? No contracts, no manipulation. Just you and me and forever. Tears spilled down her cheeks. You're such an idiot. Is that a yes? Of course it's a yes. She kissed him hard. Tasted her salty tears and happiness. I already told you I'm staying forever. Try to keep up. He slid the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly. Of course it did. He'd probably had it sized weeks ago. Probably had 12 backup rings just in case. That was Myung-ho, always prepared for everything. Except her saying yes so easily. I love you, he murmured against her lips. I love you too. Even though you're a criminal. Especially because I'm a criminal. She laughed. Don't push it. They kissed in room 304, where it all began. Where a lonely nurse had kissed a dying stranger and found her forever. Outside the room, Yurin and Gunwoo stood guard. Think they're done being gross? Gunwoo asked. Yurin checked her watch. Give them another 5 minutes. He's insatiable when it comes to her. That's disturbing. That's love. She smiled. The real kind. The kind worth fighting for. Inside the room, Myung-ho lifted Teresa into his arms. What are you doing? Carrying my wife to the car. Then I'm taking her home. Then I'm going to spend the rest of the night showing her exactly how insatiable I am. She wrapped her arms around his neck. Promises, promises. I keep my promises now. Remember? You better. Because I'm holding you to forever. Forever, he agreed. Starting now. He carried her out of room 304. Out of the hospital and into the snow that was just starting to fall. Seoul was covered in Christmas lights. Trees in windows, inflatable Santas on lawns, and the whole city parked. It was Christmas. And Myung-ho Jin was alive, in love, and absolutely certain he'd never let her go. Not in this life. Not in any life. She'd woken him up with a kiss on Christmas Eve. And he'd spend the rest of his life making sure she never regretted it. Merry Christmas, husband, she whispered against his neck. Merry Christmas, wife. He kissed her in the falling snow. Thank you for saving me. Thank you for waking up. They drove home through the snowy streets. To the compound that had become theirs. To the life they'd built together. And when they made love that night, with Christmas lights twinkling outside their window, it felt like coming home. Like magic. Like a miracle. Like Christmas. So what do you think? Should she have forgiven him so quickly? It's Christmas season and a time to share love. Kindly like and share this video, because there's more coming. See you in the next one.